The question I received was, why is it that my mom loves my brother to death, believes every word out of his mouth, when he smokes weed, fails school, cusses her out, lies to her face, and just doesn't listen? But if there's a fight in the house, it must be my fault. If something's left somewhere, it's mine. If something comes out of my mouth, it must be a lie or meant to be ugly in some way. When all I did growing up was stay by her side when she'd lay in bed from taking pills, when her and my dad would get into an argument, and she just felt like she couldn't go. And she tried to keep the family together no matter what. I don't understand how she could stay there in the yard while I cried my eyes out and tell me everything wrong in our family is my fault. When I read that question, it reminded me a lot. It's very comparable to Jesus' life here on earth. And right now, before we get into Jesus' life, I'd like to compare this passage to what you've been going through. And it comes from Romans. I'm in Proverbs 19:11. Proverbs 19:11 says, "The discretion of a man makes him slow to anger, and it's to his glory to overlook an offense." What's that saying? Is, man, when somebody wrongs you, don't let it take you down. Don't focus on that same problem. Just bless them, pray about the situation, and just live on with life. Don't even look that way. And I want to focus on this last part you have here. It says, "No, I don't understand how she can stay in the yard while I cry my eyes out and tell me everything wrong in our family is my fault." Okay, let's look at Jesus' life real quick. And I want to start this off with Isaiah 53:3. Isaiah 53:3 says, "He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief." Okay, we're talking about Jesus Christ here. One who did not sin against any man, do not one thing wrong, nothing wrong. And here we are, the King of Kings being acquainted with grief. "And we hid as it was our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him." If you keep on going down to 7, it says, "He was oppressed, and he was afflicted. Yet he opened not his mouth, and he was led as a lamb to the slaughter. And as a sheep before its shears is silent, so he opened not his mouth." Oppressed, we read it at the very beginning of 7, is basically to be presented with an uncruel or unjust punishment. And that's what Jesus went through, an uncruel and unjust punishment. And as we read on, it said, "Yet he did not open his mouth." He could have called down legions of angels at any time to stop what was going on, but did he know? He knew what had to be done, and he did it. But that's getting off subject, so let's get back on. I want to talk about the people in Jesus' life that let him down over and over and over again. We have Peter as a main example. Peter, Jesus said, "Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows." Peter denied him 3 times. Peter let Jesus down. Another famous one is Judas. Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss. If you don't understand that, we can go into a different lesson. But Judas betrayed Jesus, which is basically how it started with him being crucified, with being betrayed by this kiss. And even the people that Jesus was closest to. Now Jesus, here's this holy person, this unsinful person, having people letting him down. I'm going to get into a main point after I get in all this, and I really want you to listen to what I'm about to say. I'm going to talk about light-skinned people. When I say light-skinned, it means you take offense to stuff easily. Like, say, my friend wasn't to notice my haircut. I'd get all upset about that. Or, I wore my new clothes that I got for Christmas to church or something, and nobody said, "Hey, nice clothes." Just taking offenses easily, okay? When we look at Jesus' life, if he was light-skinned, he wouldn't be able to do everything God called him to do. The same with you. If you let the situation that you're in take you down, you're not going to be able to do God's full potential for you. With that being said, that you had the Pharisees always telling Jesus, "Hey, Jesus, you're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. You shouldn't be doing it this way. You should be worshiping this way. You shouldn't be doing this on Sunday. You should be doing this." And Jesus, could have easily said, "Man, these Pharisees are these big-time guys. Everybody looks up to them. They're supposed to know what they're talking about. They're the head of the church. They're the head of these most governments, and I'm just going to give up because, they just keep dogging on me." No, Jesus didn't do that. He kept going because he knew what he had to do. Same with your situation, okay? Don't let whatever's being said get you down, because as human beings, we're not perfect. I'd like to turn to 1 Corinthians 4:12 through 13 real quick. And after all that Jesus went through and knew what he was about to face, Jesus still said this. When we read 1 Corinthians 4:12 through 13, it says, "And we labor, working with our own hands, being revealed, we bless, being persecuted, we endure. Being defamed, we entreat, we have been made as the filth of the world, the offscouring of all things until now." I really want to focus on 4:12. And it says, "We bless, being persecuted." What that means is, say, I was to go to a third world country, and I'm preaching to these Ethiopian kids about Jesus, okay, or Chinese kids about Jesus, and over there, there's different laws where you're not supposed to do that, and so the government finds out, they start beating me because of me teaching these kids about God and giving out Bibles or whatnot, tracts, and so they beat me. What God's saying is, hey, if you're prophesying in my name or teaching in my name, or if you're getting persecuted at all, take it as a blessing. And this is coming from a man who is going to be put on the cross, beat, left up to die, spit at, and everything. And he says, when you're being persecuted, take it as a blessing and endure it. Okay? The main point of this little short passage that I went over is, people are going to let you down, so just stop hoping they won't. Whether it's your mother, father, sister, uncle, brother, cousin, pastor, best friend, teacher, everybody is going to let you down. When we look at the Bible, it doesn't say trust in man with all your heart. It says trust in God with all your heart, because God will never let you down. Never. He will never leave you or forsake you. God is always there for you. It looks like you want that connection with your mother. I can tell that just from reading this little brief, of all the time you spent with her when you were younger. You just really want that bondage back to like y'all used to have. One thing you need to do is never turn toward wrath. Whenever she's arguing with you, don't go back in and start fighting back. What that's just going to do is add more problems on top of more problems on top of more problems, okay? And if you're just to avoid that wrath like Jesus did, whenever we were looking at Isaiah 53:7, it says he didn't open his mouth, okay? When you're talking to your mother, if she's taking it the wrong way, just be like, sorry, didn't mean it that way, and just don't ever turn to wrath. Don't ever raise your voice. Don't ever back talk, okay? And one thing that I want to look at before we close is prayer. When you turn to 1 Peter 5:7, it says, cast all your anxieties on the Lord, for he cares for you. What I want you to do is right now, after this is over, I want you to just get on your hands and knees, go by your bed, wherever you feel comfortable, pray, talk to God. One thing you need to do, if you watch the baggage of addiction sermon that I gave at Cross Point, you can see my second point was take it to God. We really need to take it to God. We can't handle all this stuff. We need to take the burden off our chest. When we're praying, it's like, Lord, this is actually how I came to be where I am today. God took a huge burden off my chest through a prayer. Just pray, God, can you take this burden off my chest? I'm really struggling, Lord. Just please help me out with this. I can't do it without you. I'm weak, Lord. I'm weak. Okay? And as far as the rest of the problems that I'm seeing going on, no problem is going to be solved overnight, especially with a family matter. But one thing that you do need to be doing is staying steady in prayer and praying to God about this situation. And maybe later on, if you feel led to, you can come to me or you can talk to a pastor or somebody else about these problems, and they'll be more than happy to give you the best advice that they have and guide you through it and pray for you too. But I just want you to know that I'm praying for you, and I hope everything turns out well, and I'm glad you asked this question. It means you're taking the first step. As James 5:16 says, confess therefore to one another so that one another can pray for you. The fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. And I guess that's pretty much it. God bless.